to the Scoop on the Snoop, the podcast where we dig into the hidden and often unsettling sides of history. I'm Yaya, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Bree.
Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Bree. And today, we're going to talk about something that might be a little hard to believe, but it's definitely real. We're diving into one of the darkest chapters of the CIA's history, when the agency conducted secret experiments on its own citizens.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about the CIA's MKUltra program and other operations that involve testing mind control techniques and drugs on unsuspecting Americans. These are not your typical government experiments. It's straight up dystopian.
And what's crazy is that these experiments were happening in secret, without the knowledge or consent of the people being tested.
Crazy.
A lot of the time, there were vulnerable people, mental patients, military personnel, and even random civilians like you. It's pretty chilling.
Like us?
Yeah, like us, when you think about it.
Absolutely. So MKUltra kicked off in the early 1950s during the Cold War, and its goal was to develop techniques of mind control, especially using drugs like LSD. The CIA was convinced that if they could control people's minds, they could turn them into spies and even use them for interrogations.
That's crazy. And that wasn't just some small project. MKUltra involved a wide range of experiments, everything from giving people LSD without their knowledge to sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and even electric shock therapy. The idea was to see how far they could push the human brain and break it down to make it how they want it, how they please it to be.
It gets even darker when you think about how they recruited people for these experiments. Some subjects were institutionalized patients who were given these drugs without their consent. No knowledge, no explanation. And a lot of the time, they didn't even know what was happening.
And it wasn't just mental patients either, because a lot of the tests were done on military personnel, government employees, and even civilians who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And for a long time, no one knew what was happening. It wasn't until the 1970s, after a series of investigations, that some of these programs were exposed.
Yikes. And when those investigations came to light, it caused a huge public uproar. Imagine being told that your own government was using its citizens as guinea pigs. Crazy work.
Like animals.
In a program with zero oversight. It's a huge violation of trust, and it raised some really serious questions about the ethical limits of national security.
And it's one of those things that makes you stop and think how much is too much when it comes to protecting national interests. And where do we draw the line between security and basic human rights? The MKUltra experiments didn't just cross that line, they completely destroyed the line.
Destroyed. So, many of the people who were part of these experiments suffered long-term effects. Psychological damage such as depression, paranoia, memory loss, you name it. Some even became suicidal. It's hard to imagine how many lives were affected by these programs.
Really sad, but you know what's even crazier?
What's crazier?
The CIA destroyed all of the records related to the MKUltra. So there's a lot that we'll never even get to know about it. But the documents that did survive, thanks to some brave whistleblowers, exactly, just show how far the agency was willing to go.
Right, and even though MKUltra officially ended in the 1970s, there's a real question about how much of that type of experimentation has continued, or if the government has just found new, more subtle ways to conduct similar programs. It's a rabbit hole, for sure.
And it's not just MKUltra either, because the CIA conducted other controversial programs with radiation, biological agents, and more. There was a systematic issue, not just a one-off experiment. The scale of it really makes you question the ethics of a government agency working in the shadows without any accountability.
Yeah, and there are still people who want to argue that the CIA's actions were justified, that they were necessary to protect the country during the Cold War. But at what cost, right?
Literally.
The damage they did to individuals in the name of security can't be ignored.
Fine line, because the MKUltra program is a haunting reminder of how quickly that line can be crossed when secrecy and power are unchecked. It leaves us with a lot of tough questions about government transparency, ethics, and how far is too far when it comes to protecting the nation.
Definitely. And today the CIA is a lot more tightly regulated, but the legacy of MKUltra still lingers. Trust in government agencies will never be the same after something like this comes to light, and they'll always be complicated.
So, while the CIA may have evolved in some ways, it's important to remember its dark past. The real question is, how many secrets are still hidden from the public eye? They could be hiding a lot of stuff from you guys, so watch out.
Watch out. It's a conversation that's not going away anytime soon. Well, that's all we've got for today. Thanks for joining us on this dive into one of the most hidden and unsettling sides of American history.
Yup, and make sure to subscribe.
Yeah.
So you don't miss the next episode. Maybe we'll talk about some
drugs.
About some serial killers. We'll talk about. You guys want to talk about terrorists? We can talk about terrorists.
We can talk about whatever you want us to talk about.
Yeah, but just let us know, guys. We'll be back next week with another story.
Woohoo.
Until then, stay curious.
Stay safe and stay informed.
And stay aware.
See you next time.